I'm Chef Dan Frenette, and today I'm going to show you how to make the juiciest, simplest, crackling skin capon supreme. We're going to plate it up with a really vibrant carrot risotto. Welcome to Market to Table. I'm Chef Dan Frenette, and I'm really excited to be at the world-famous St. Lawrence Market. Today I'm shopping for capon, not chicken, rice, and a bunch of fresh organic veggies. So let's get the show on the road.
Hey, Dan.
It's good to see you. I'm looking for some organic veggies.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What are you looking for?
In particular, I need some heirloom carrots, need some Swiss chard, and I need some mushrooms.
I think you should probably go with one of these. These are organic heirlooms. Really, really nice carrot, super sweet. Now, with Swiss chard's over here. So I have a straight red and I have a beautiful rainbow. I think the rainbow is probably more fitting for the colors of the carrots. And you can choose whichever one you want.
These are beautiful. Now, do you have any mushrooms for me?
All right, look at these.
Wow.
Awesome, eh? You ever seen anything like that before?
No.
So this is a pink oyster out of the Niagara region. So 100% organic, and it's all natural. The color's natural, everything.
All right.
It's unbelievable. Totally. The texture's a little different. So it's a little bit more like a shiitake. Like the eat on it is a little bit like a shiitake.
This is gonna work really well with what I'm cooking.
Awesome.
Hello, B. How you doing today?
I'm well, Dan.
How many different types of rice do you guys have?
We have brown rice or polished white rice. We have organic, non-organic. We have rices from all different countries, including Canada.
That's
A-grade wild rice, beautiful stuff.
So today I'm making a risotto. Can you recommend what type of rice I should be using?
Yeah, you need a short grain rice, of course, and the very best one, I think, for risotto is arborio rice.
Hey, Arno.
Hey, Dan. How you doing, Mark?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good. Yeah.
So, a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
What is the difference between chicken supremes and capon supremes?
Capon used to be a rooster, but
Okay.
it's castrated, right? So
Okay.
that's why they call it capon.
So it suffered a little bit.
Exactly. The regular chicken, we don't know if it is male or female,
Okay.
but less meat in it. Capon got very tender.
Okay. So what's the difference between the flavor profiles
The
between
flavor
the two?
it's very tasty, very juicy.
My bags are full. Now let's get back to the kitchen and start cooking. I'm here in our amazing kitchen, back from shopping at the St. Lawrence Market. We're gonna make something really fun today. We're gonna start with capon supremes, grana padano, arborio rice, pink oyster mushrooms, butter, onions, garlic, heirloom carrots, rainbow chard, white wine, and for our staples today, we're using salt, freshly ground pepper, chicken stock, olive oil, and for garnishing, we're gonna use purple daikon. So let's get started with the thing that's gonna take the longest, our capon supreme. Capon's actually kind of funny. It's, the reason it's called capon is because of caponization, which essentially is castration of a rooster. As harsh as that sounds, it actually does do something for the meat. Really benefits it. It allows it to grow faster and fatter and more plump. It's got a slightly gamier taste than chicken, so it's really, really good. Same principle as cooking chicken, except for the obvious, it's huge, so it's gonna take us a little bit longer to cook. Let's start off by seasoning it. Salt, freshly ground pepper, and I'm gonna teach you a way to make chicken that, honestly, once you've done it this way, you're never gonna cook chicken a different way. It's gonna be really nice and crispy. I call it crackling, because as you cut into it and bite it, it literally is going to be crackling. Get a nice bit of olive oil on there. Freshly cracked pepper for the skin also. Straight in the frying pan. So this is gonna take a couple minutes. And what we're doing here is we're coagulating, locking in all that beautiful juice, as well as we're crisping the skin. Continue to crisp the skin, and then we're not gonna flip it. We're gonna go straight into the oven, which is set at 450 degrees, and we're gonna cook it for probably about 35 minutes, depending on the power of your oven. Obviously, in the commercial kitchen that I'm cooking in right now, it's gonna cook a lot quicker. So let's get this in the oven now. And while that's cooking, we're gonna start preparing our risotto. On our beautiful induction burners, I've got some chicken stock here. We're gonna heat up the chicken stock to boiling. We're gonna make a carrot risotto. And first things first, we're gonna need to puree some carrots as well. So, make life very easy. 2 orange carrots, already peeled. We're gonna chop them very small because again, I'm very impatient when it comes to tasty food. So, cut them in half first, quarter them, chop them up nice and small, and then we're gonna roast them. And we're gonna roast them up so they get nice and soft and it's easy for us to puree. To get that nice silky texture of the puree that we're after, we're gonna add a little bit of chicken stock. The reason for that is we want it to be nice and fluffy, and we're gonna incorporate that into the risotto as we're cooking it. That's gonna give us a really nice, beautiful flavor, as well as a really nice color. So that color is gonna be fantastic, and we're gonna contrast it with using some Swiss chard, plate the supremes on top of it, make it look really, really sexy today. So again, olive oil, small amount, kosher salt. And we don't need to worry too much about flavoring this a lot now, because again, this is going to be the base of our risotto. We're going to be flavoring it with a lot of other things, including, you guessed it, my favorite, cheese. So in the oven with this, we'll see it in about 20 minutes with the chicken, okay? So as that's happening, we're going to start prepping the rest of our risotto. A lot of people are intimidated by risotto, and I understand why, as it's got a lot of hype behind it. Realistically, at the end of the day, if you're comfortable cooking rice, you should be comfortable making risotto. It's really easy. So, onion, chop it up. Nice fine dice. Probably don't need all of it, so we'll set it aside. Dice the rest of it. Now we want it nice and small so that it does caramelize and cooks quickly. Risotto is something, once you've started the process, you really need to carry on and continue the process. It's not something that you can do in stages. Now for the rice itself, we're going to be using arborio rice, which in my experience is by far the best rice for risotto. It's really, really creamy. It's got a perfect starch content for what we're after, as well as you get a great consistency, and it's a great base for a beautiful protein dish. So you can really get a lot of height. Helps you with that presentation at the end that we all know is so important. So we'll set that aside. The carrots are going for our puree. Our capon's in the oven cooking away. We're going to get that nice and crispy. Now we're going to garnish up or dice up some more carrots. These are specifically for the risotto. Okay, so we're going to have nice, beautiful yellow carrots for nice color contrast. We're going to dice these up a little bit smaller just so we get nice even cooking as well as nice texture. We really want to get a nice texture in with that risotto, so you have the creaminess, crunch from the carrots, and you'll have really a nice creamy texture from the cheese and the butter itself. We can put this in with the onions. Once our stock starts boiling, then we'll be ready to start cooking our risotto. So we'll set this aside in the meantime. We might as well move straight into prepping these beautiful pink oyster mushrooms. And they cook just the same as a regular oyster mushroom, except for the obvious. They have this beautiful pink color. And so I'm not even going to bother taking a knife to these. We're just going to peel them apart with our hands, really gently. The thing with mushrooms is they've got such a high water content that they really do shrink down a lot. I don't want to shrink too much of them, so we're going to cook these very quickly. As well as the further you cook a king oyster or a pink oyster mushroom, it loses its color. We don't want to do that. And again, as you notice, I've got a lot more. And you guessed it, that's for me for later. And we'll set these aside for later as well. Beautiful. Now you can't possibly cook a mushroom without using garlic. So I'm going to teach you a really cool way to peel garlic. Everybody's intimidated by garlic or lazy, and that's why they're buying peeled garlic in the store. Let me show you something really simple. Gently release some of the skin, chop the bottom off, pull it all apart, leave the skins all intact. Take 2 steel bowls that are the same size. This is the most important part. We're going to put the lid on top of this. We're going to make a whole lot of noise, wake up the neighbors. Beautiful. Now we've got our peeled garlic. We can set that aside. We'll start crushing these because we're going to need some for the risotto as well as some for the mushrooms. This is going to be such an awesome dish. I'm really excited to put it all together. Chop this up. We'll add the garlic that we need for the risotto with our risotto mise en place, which just means put in place. Fancy chef term. Makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about. Now we're all good. We're ready to start cooking our risotto. So our capon's done, our carrots are done. Let's retrieve them. We're gonna pull the capon out. We're gonna let it rest. Oh, look at that. Beautiful, crispy. It's gonna be succulent, I promise you that. Set this aside. Pull the carrots out. Now we need to make our carrot puree. Get these into our trusty food blender. And because we are using this for the risotto, and we're using chicken stock for the risotto, which obviously is going to pair really, really well with capon, we're going to put chicken stock in with the carrot puree too. Just a small amount, just to allow this to puree really well. And don't tell my dietitian, a little bit of butter, we're off to the races. Make some more noise. Beautiful, I'm happy with that. So, we're gonna set this aside. Remove the blade. I value my fingers, and in we go. We'll set this aside for later. So now we're ready to start cooking our risotto. We've got our pan, it's already very hot as you can see. Add some olive oil. Add our garlic, our carrots, our onions, and we'll get a saute going here. And we really want to start building the flavor slowly for risotto. That's the really important thing with risotto. Build it slowly, add the vegetables, let them caramelize. Add the garlic, the onions, have it all caramelized together, bring out that natural flavor. And when I was taught to make risotto, one of the most important steps was wine. Make sure you're using a wine that you would drink. Never cook with wine that you won't drink. It's kind of not what we do. Once these are nice and soft, the onions are translucent, I'm going to deglaze with all of this white wine. What that's going to do is going to speed up the concentration of flavor process. We're going to concentrate the flavor, add all this beautiful wine into here, reduce it down to a term I call au sec, which is essentially until dry. Then we will add our rice, and we'll start to toast the rice very slowly. And you'll see the rice will actually start to pearl. And once the rice starts to pearl, that's when you know it's time to add the stock. We'll add the stock slowly, ladle at a time. What that does is ensures perfect cooking, so we get al dente. We cook any further than that, you're left with rice pudding. And that's why I believe many people are intimidated to cook risotto. So, in goes the wine. And now we're going to turn the heat way up, and we're going to let this reduce down, and all of that flavor is really going to concentrate. We've got our chicken stock boiling, we've got our capon resting, we've got our oyster mushrooms prepped, we're all set. Last thing I need to do is my Swiss chard. Beautiful big leaves of Swiss chard. I'm going to use this for presentation. So, in order to do so, take it very gently, and because we're using chicken stock already, we're going to blanch it in with the chicken stock. And all we're doing is trying to bring out the chlorophyll in the green, make it a little bit more pliable and a little easier to work with for the presentation. So it's just softer, that's all I'm doing. Making it a little bit brighter, a little bit easier to work with when I go to saute it in my pan with all the garlic. We're just about au sec here. Still have a little bit of liquid left, which is going to help with our cooking of the arborio rice. We're going to add in a small amount. We're going to let this start to toast, and I'll show you what I mean by pearling. That's probably more than enough. Very important, make sure that each individual grain of rice gets coated in oil. That's going to allow it all to cook evenly, as well as come together in the end. You can end up with really, really nice al dente, creamy risotto. It's coming together really, really nicely. The smell is really starting to get to me. I'm starting to get very hungry. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt now, just to allow that flavor to start seeping into the rice itself, so I'm not coating the rice in flavor. Now, if you look really closely, you'll see a difference in the way the rice looks. We have two different colors. This is sort of opaque, and if you look closely, they're starting to look like pearls now. That means I'm ready to start adding stock. So I've got my hot chicken stock here, one ladle at a time. Give it a good stir and let this start to come together. Once we've added a ladle or two of stock, that's when we're gonna add our carrot puree. We'll add that in, allow the color to dissipate, allow the rice grains themselves to actually get dyed with that beautiful orange color. That flavor of the carrot puree is really going to infuse this rice, and I think we're gonna have a really, really, really tasty dish. Our arboreal rice has been cooking for a while now. I'm getting really impatient, but it's getting close. Our liquid keeps reducing, our chicken stock's reducing, we're concentrating flavors. It's coming together really nicely. I'm gonna add the carrot puree now. One of my favorite things about using heirloom carrots is the variety of color. You know, you've got yellow, you've got orange, you've got red, you've got purple. So what we're doing here is we're creating a really, really, really vibrant colored dish, as well as we're incorporating different types of flavor. Every carrot, yellow, orange, red, purple, it all has a different sugar content depending on the color. Hence the reason we're using orange to dye the risotto, because it's not quite as sweet as the yellows. The yellows are very sweet. That's why the yellows are in nice large chunks. Every time you bite in, you get that crunch, you're gonna get a nice juicy sweet explosion. So this is starting to come together. Add a little bit more stock. Let that simmer until the rice is fully cooked. Then we'll start adding our butter and our cheese and bringing it all together. This whole time I've had this capon supreme resting. What's been happening is all that juice has been going back into the meat. If you look closely, you'll notice all around the cutting board, nothing has seeped out. That's really important when cooking meat, any kind of meat. I find a lot of people when they cook a steak, they're so impatient, they're just so excited to eat it that they cut into it right away. You end up ruining your steak. You ruin the color, you lose all that juice, and you end up biting into a big piece of beef jerky. That's not why we're eating steak. It certainly isn't why we're eating capon. It's very important to let rest. The larger the piece of meat, the longer it has to rest. It's pretty straightforward. You gotta have that patience. You went to all that trouble cooking it, finish strong, let it rest, and trust me, you'll enjoy it a lot more. I'm gonna adjust the seasoning on my risotto because I know it needs a little bit more salt. We're gonna let that finish cooking. Turn down the heat as we're getting very close. All this liquid is going to dissipate and all of it is going to come together. We're gonna end up with a beautiful dish. So in the meantime, turn on my trusty induction burners. We're gonna start sauteing up these beautiful pink oyster mushrooms that we prepped earlier. And I'm a little lazy, I don't like doing dishes. So I'm gonna cook all of these in the same pan as my Swiss chard. And you might as well do it at home too. It makes life a lot easier. Something very important that I probably should have mentioned earlier is how frequently you stir in risotto. There's a common misconception of stirring risotto the entire time. I find that's useless. You're wasting time, you're gonna end up with carpal tunnel in your wrist by the time you're done. I'm cooking it occasionally, or stirring it occasionally, excuse me, just to make sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom. I don't want to burn the rice. Just put all that effort into making all the ingredients for it. I really want to follow through and make sure that it's delicious. Pan's starting to get hot. We're gonna add in butter. Best thing to cook mushrooms in. Now we're gonna slowly start sauteing our pink oysters. And very last second, we're gonna add our Swiss chard. We're not gonna cook it very long. We still want it to have some crunch and some texture, but most importantly, we want it to have some body because this is what we're gonna be using as a plate. We're gonna plate on top of this to get a really nice color contrast, all right? In goes our mushrooms. In with the butter and the garlic. Touch of seasoning. And of course, fresh cracked pepper. Oh, that butter's starting to smell really good. The risotto's starting to get very close. See how it's all starting to come together now? We've got this beautiful carrot puree in there. We've got this beautiful grains of rice that are all starting to cook. They're starting to come together, and that starch is bringing it all into one. Now we don't want to overcook the king oyster mushrooms again. Add our Swiss chard now. Let this finish cooking all together. We're also going to have to let our rice stand for a few minutes afterwards to let all that starch really, really come together. So we've got all of our ingredients ready to go. Capon's cooked, risotto's cooked, pink oyster mushrooms are cooked, chard's cooked. Now we have to talk about garnishing. We've got these beautiful edible flowers. We're not going to go overboard with them because, again, they're flowers. They taste just exactly how you would imagine them to. So a little bit of floral, fine. Too much, no bueno. We're going to add some purple daikon. That's going to give it a nice peppery, spicy note, as well as offset some of the colors that we're putting onto this plate. So first order of business, finishing the risotto. Risotto is not complete unless you incorporate a nice healthy chunk of butter, and of course, grana padano, pecorino, or parmesan. Any type of cheese like this, hard, rich, robust Italian cheese will work really well. So we'll microplane this in, a good generous amount, as usual. That should be sufficient. Again, I've said this before, if I was by myself, there would be twice the amount of cheese in there. But I don't feel like being judged today, so we're gonna make just a normal, modest amount of cheese. Mix that all together. Now, take the rest of our ingredients, and we're gonna start plating. First order of business, the Swiss chard. We're going to display that and really showcase it. We're going to cheat. We're going to take a ring cutter, put it in the center, make sure everything's really well incorporated. Slowly portion in a little bit of this risotto. Push it down. Now I've got a nice ring. And we're gonna let that sit there for a second. Now we need to slice the wingtip off of the chicken. This is the chef's snack. You'll notice how juicy and beautiful this capon is looking. Nice crispy skin. We're gonna slice this up. I'd say 3 nice slices should be sufficient. Once the cameras turn off, I'll eat the rest by myself. Perfect. Remove our ring cutter now. Start laying our mushrooms about the plate, however you feel necessary. I personally like to spread them out, showcase them, really show off the beautiful color of these pink oysters. Spread out the plate. There's no exact science to this. If you think it looks pretty, it probably does. That looks good to me. There's our plated capon. Now we're gonna garnish the rest of it. Take some of these petals, lay them around the plate, paying really close attention to where you put them, because then we're gonna want some color contrast. Now we're gonna add some red petals. Really contrast those colors. Last but not least, some purple daikon. And these we'll sprinkle about the plate as well. Really nice color. And there we are with our crackling skin capon, carrot risotto, Swiss chard, purple daikon, pink oyster mushrooms, and our really colorful edible flowers. That's it for me today. First of all, I'd like to thank the folks from WD College for letting me use their amazing kitchen. If you want more information about the kitchen equipment they represent, please check out this website. We're compiling all of our recipes on this Market to Table, the cookbook. For more information, please check out this website. I'd also like to thank the vendors from St. Lawrence Market. I really appreciate you providing me with all these amazing ingredients. I had a lot of fun cooking them. And lastly, I want to thank you, the viewers. Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully I see you next time.